knew it was going to be a competitive race, but it was pretty flat, which usually works to my strength. I got out of the swim. I remember that, and I remember running to my bike. I was going like about 27 miles per hour, and the next thing I know, I woke up hours later in the ER. I'm originally from New York City. I was born in Manhattan. I went to an all-girl Catholic small high school in Caldwell, New Jersey called Mount St. Dominic Academy. Played soccer, did gymnastics, softball, basketball, literally every sport you can think of I did. Oh, I also played the flute in junior high. So that's a tidbit I don't think I've ever said out loud. As a kid, I was a perfectionist, and I always had really high goals and set high expectations for myself. And, I thought anything less than an A on a test was, I was a failure, or, athletically, if I didn't do well, I thought that, I was a complete failure. So, that was really hard looking back. After I graduated from Tufts, I moved back down to the New Jersey, New York City area, and my first job was with JP Morgan. Yeah, I thought I wanted to get into like investment banking, and so I worked in the financial district, and I was working crazy hours. I was young, I was 21, but it was nice, like being that young in Midtown Manhattan, and having a great job out of college that paid really well. But if I look back, I don't think that lifestyle was exactly for me. After about 3 years, I would say, working in finance out there, I decided to move to Virginia Beach. The first time I did a triathlon, and I looked around and I was like, where are the Black people? Like, what is going on? That did strike my curiosity. So, I went online, and I think I typed in like, why aren't Black people in triathlon? And, I started seeing the statistics about swimming, and, I think it's about 64% of African Americans can't swim. And obviously if you can't swim, you can't even try a triathlon. And then, there had never been an African American pro triathlete, and of course I was slow when I was looking up all this stuff, but I was like, that would be so cool if that were me. I got into it more, and 2019 I decided to do Ironman 70.3 Texas in Galveston, and I flew out there alone. I knew it was going to be a competitive race, but it was pretty flat, which usually works to my strength, and I'd never done the race. I was pretty excited about it, but I was also a little nervous because this is like a huge race, like 2,000 athletes, and I got out of the swim. I remember that, and I remember running to my bike. I had the wind on my back. I was riding a disc wheel, I remember that, and I remember the road being pretty narrow, and I was going like about 27 miles per hour, and then the next thing I know, I woke up hours later in the ER. I later found out that one of the competitors in front of me swerved into my lane, and I didn't have much time to react or brake, so I swerved to avoid them, and I did miss them, but I hit the barricade in the road that kept us from traffic. I was told that I went flying face forward into the pavement, and cracked my helmet. The visor that I was wearing, the shield, exploded in my face, and so I broke my nose, I knocked my teeth loose, I completely lacerated my face and had to get about like 40 stitches to like 6 sections of my face. I had severe road rash all over my body.
throughout her life. She's been an achiever. She's been driven, I was always encouraging her to go on, keep on, because she would go through her peaks and valleys, and she would say, oh, look, I've just about had it with this. So we would go through that, and then I would always encourage her to go on, but then after when the crash happened, I would have been more than happy if she said, that's it for me, and she did, I think maybe the first day. Then the second or third day she was planning the next race. So much for the quitting, I've always enjoyed boxing. And I've seen fights where boxers look like she looked after the accident. But then when you see how they look subsequent after they've received treatment and all this other stuff, it's amazing. It's like it never happened. So I tried to encourage her with that, show her some of Mike Tyson's victims. Just to show her that, hey, it's something that we can come back from this.
I thought I was going to be disfigured for the rest of my life, pretty much.
Right.
The first few days, it was just mentally trying to grasp everything that happened and figure out what's next. And I wasn't necessarily thinking about the sport, like what's next, but my dad did bring that up. He came to me and he was just like, basically, if you knew all this was going to happen, but that you would end up in the hospital and just broken and getting stitched back together, but that you'd go on to get your pro card, would you still go through with all this? And I, for whatever reason, I just immediately said yes. Like, it just seemed worth it to me if the ultimate goal would eventually be me having this lifelong dream achievement happen. So I decided at that moment that I was going to continue with the sport and try to recover as quickly as I could. And I signed up for Ironman 70.3 Augusta, like that day after the conversation with my dad. And so I had 5 months to prepare for that race, but I had to start really slow to make sure like my balance and everything was okay. So it just started out with my coach writing the most simple, basic things like go out for a walk. I think the first time I went out and did any form of physical exercise, I went to the track with my mom and we walked 4 laps slowly around the track. Bike for like 20 minutes. And just slowly started like that. And then about 2 months after the accident, I saw that there was a local sprint triathlon right outside of DC. And it was one of those things where I'm like, the longer I stay out of this sport, the longer I don't ride my bike, the harder it is going to be for me to get back into it. So I just need to like do something. You never know what's going to happen one race to the next. And so I just focused on the next one, which was Challenge Cancun in Mexico. It was absolutely beautiful. That was actually my first time racing internationally. And I crossed the finish line and I was just relieved, but I had no idea what place I came in. And we had to wait for about an hour to find out. And I wasn't nice either. I'm like, Dad, did you check? And he's like, oh my God. I ended up coming in 3rd amateur and I qualified for my pro card. So, silver lining, yeah. As hard as this sport is and as time consuming and as exhausting as it is, when you have to figure out what your motivation is and why you get up at like 5 in the morning and ride 100 miles or, get in the boring cold pool and stare at the black line for like 4,000 yards, you definitely have to like have your why. And if it's not important enough, you're probably not going to keep going with this. Or, in my case, having a pretty horrific bike crash and like trying to come back from that and trying to figure out, okay, how much does this mean to me? How important is this and why? If I didn't have that, then I would have quit a long time ago. And for me, that why is the diversity and representation aspect and seeing more people of color in sports where you generally don't. I watched Dominique Dawes and she got the gold medal, and I took up gymnastics and I wanted to be a great gymnast because of her. And time has passed, and now we have, obviously the great Simone Biles. And, even with swimming, it's so great now to see somebody like Simone Manuel, or, for my brother, it was Colin Jones. And I think representation is really important. When you're young and you're easily influenced and you see these great performances, especially once every 4 years at the Olympics, and you want to be these people or be like them, and they might influence you to eventually want to get a Division I scholarship at a college, and it just changes your life completely. And for me, sport has changed my life completely. So I figured as I got into triathlon, like, if I could possibly be that positive influence for somebody else, then that would be pretty freaking awesome. They see the end story and it looks wonderful and magical, like it was easy and it just came out of the blue, but it's really putting in the hard work day after day, month after month, year after year, and just being consistent and determined to reach your goal.